Hi, everybody, and welcome to Marketing for the Pro Actor here on the Virtual Channel Network. We're the Casting About guys. That's Brian.
And that's Blair. Blair's a professional actor. You can find him on IMDb Pro. And I've spent the better part of a decade doing public relations and marketing. And we're here to talk with you about marketing for the professional actor. We get a lot of questions from actors, and we'd like to dive right into them today.
Yeah. A lot of people send us questions at the website asking us, how do I market? How do I market smartly? What do I do? We're also going to be answering your questions, of course. You can always reach us through info@castingabout.com. So some of these questions we get deal with not just marketing, but marketing effectively, like getting the word out about yourself as an actor. One question we got here was, hey, I did a mailing recently. I sent out over 200 postcards. I've heard nothing. What's up? Well, big question. A lot of answers to that. People will tell you it could be about a headshot. It could be about experience. It could be about union status. But I think more importantly, one thing to think about is that marketing itself is not about just sending out a ton of postcards. It's not about doing these huge, big mass mailings. It's about marketing specifically and targeting specific individuals.
We were sitting in Mel's Diner one day, and across the way was a couple of actresses that were taking from the pre-printed mailing labels, and one of them had a Sharpie. She was just Xing out all the labels. And so we went over and introduced ourselves, and we said, hey, who's that? And she goes, I don't know, it's a casting director. And
what do they do?
What do they do? I don't know. I don't know. Why are you sending your materials to someone that you don't know anything about?
A lot of actors will say, well, I want everybody to know who I am. I want to get the word out as much as possible. And that may be true, but it's kind of like winning the lottery. I mean, there are just too many casting directors and too many projects. If you spend any time researching marketing, you'll find out that specific targeted marketing is absolutely the most effective. It really ups your chances, ups your percentage. What you should be doing is building a target list of people to go after.
We don't advocate for stalking, but
no, that's true.
We do think that it's important to build relationships. And earlier we were talking about the rule of 7 for marketing, this idea that it takes multiple impressions of your brand before someone is ready to make kind of a purchase decision. And I think it's appropriate for actors as well. I think that actors need to think of themselves that same way, that rather than sending a million postcards or a million headshots out, it's a little bit like driving down the 405 and just sort of throwing your headshots up in the air, hoping that it's going to land on somebody's windshield and they happen to be a casting director. Instead, we like to talk with actors about trying to be smart and focused in your marketing. Instead of sending your thing to every casting director, send your materials to the ones who are most likely to hire you, the ones that you most want to meet.
We have one member on Casting About who sent us a message about what he was doing, and actually he had a pretty good plan. This is a guy named Derek, lives in New York, and likes to come to L.A. for pilot season. He's a stand-up comedian, does a lot of shows in New York, but when he comes to L.A., he wants to try and hit the sitcoms and hit them hard. People in L.A. don't really know him. He's just getting started. So his target list is people who are casting sitcoms right now. He actually goes on Casting About, and you can filter the information. So he'll bring up a list of just the casting directors who are casting half-hour comedies who are actively casting right now when he lands in L.A. And then even more specific, he targets the associates. Now, every casting office is going to have a casting director. Most have associates, and then a lot of them have assistants as well. And Eric told us that he likes to concentrate just on the associates because they're going to be casting the smaller roles or introducing people to the office, and he's brand new. So what he's done is he's taken what could have been hundreds of casting directors, an overwhelming job, and he's narrowed it down to a couple dozen or so of associates who are casting half-hour comedies. That's his list. Those are people that he mails to. Those are people that he looks to do workshops for, and those are people he's looking to meet time and time again to start building relationships with these people. And he's actually been very effective at it.
Right, and maybe you send a postcard before you leave for Los Angeles that says, hey, I'm coming to town and I'm really looking forward to meeting you. Or maybe you look them up on the various workshop lists that are out there and see if there's an opportunity that you might be able to meet them. But you send a postcard before that happens, and then you show up at the workshop and you say, don't know if you got my postcard, but I'm really excited to meet you. That's 2 impressions.
Yep.
And then maybe, depending on how things go, maybe you send a follow-up afterwards. There's 3 impressions. This is part of the idea of, instead of just splashing out one mass mailing to everyone, trying to build multiple impressions with specific individuals.
It requires a little bit more work because you're going to have to do a little bit more research, obviously, find out who's casting what at what time. But that's really your job as an actor. There's two sides to it. It's knowing who's casting what they're up to, where they are, and also knowing who you are as an actor, what type you are, what product you have to sell. And then ultimately the job is to match up your product with the right buyer, the people who need you the most. So when you focus in on those people, that becomes your target list. That's where you really spend most of your time marketing. And ultimately, your percentage of hits, your percentage of numbers and auditions go way, way up.
Right. This certainly can be a lot of work. And one of the things that people struggle with is lots of times you've got a survival job, you're working a lot of hours, and then you have to come home and sort of pay attention to all of these other things. However, it's really important to pay attention to that. It takes time, but it's one of the things that's going to set you apart from everyone else that's vying for the same things that you're vying for, that's struggling to try to do the same things that you can do. And even though it is a lot of work, it will pay off for you.
It becomes basically a full-time job as an actor. I mean, most people say, well, I'm an actor, so what do? Well, I go on auditions and I act. You talk to any real working actor, and what they do most of the time is research, find out what's going on around town, knowing themselves well, and marketing themselves to the right people and building those relationships. There's a great quote that talks about that this kind of work is actually what you do for work. And then when you get work, that's a perk. It's convoluted quote, but a good one, and I think makes sense ultimately. Doing that work, doing that kind of research is a topic we're going to talk about in future episodes, so be sure to check that out.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, don't forget, send us your questions. You can find the link at the bottom of any of the Casting About pages. That comes right to us, and we'll be sure to address those in future episodes.
And when you get to be rich and famous, you can talk about us in People magazine.
Please do. Until that time, though, I'm Blair.
And I'm Brian.
And we're the Casting About guys. This is Marketing for the Pro Actor on the Virtual Channel Network.